Welcome back, everybody. This is short-term rental cheat code number 4, the upper hand. Now, when I say the upper hand, what I'm talking about is making sure that you have a competitive advantage with every acquisition that you make. You think, what is it that this property has that others don't? How can you create so much value for someone that those future potential guests want to be there? And they'll tell their friends about it, like, oh, this was so good, you gotta be there. What does that advantage look like for you? Let's talk about some ideas. Number 1, you wanna make sure that you're unique. You wanna stand out. That can be from the furnishings that you choose. Look at your comparative market. What are the colors that are popping on their first, second, third, fourth, fifth picture? If you find something that's a little different and you really execute well on that, suddenly you're going to pop out from the crowd, just like this apple does, right? And as you stand out, suddenly you can start to create a higher performance for yourself. You might be able to perform from that 50 to the 75th percentile and up to the 90th percentile. If you don't know what I'm talking about, go back and look at AirDNA. So being unique, this is being you, right? Unique. You wanna make sure you put your own personality into this. Let me share one more example from my friend Chris's unit that I built out with him. All right, one of the things we were trying to go for with this unit specifically to be unique was simplicity and Zen. So we chose this bamboo theme, and if you look at this designated workspace, it looks attractive, it's simple. We did not have to break the bank on this, right? You do need to make sure that you are being clear in what you're trying to produce for your guests, for that future potential guest, but you don't have to have the highest end desk or chair. What you do need is to have high quality and make sure that it delivers on what it is your guest wants, and it shows your uniqueness. Let me show you one thing with this that may be different than most short-term rental hosts think about. He wanted the theme to really come through with Zen. And I was like, all right, a Zen garden. We can put that on the desk, and that's just one of those little things that adds a little personality, right? A little detail that pops. This is another detail that I think you absolutely want to pay attention to. He wanted to cater specifically to families. And I said, well, if we want to do that, there's a lot of times families have babies. And you need to get a pack and play and a high chair and make sure that they are still the same colors that you wanted to produce. So he was able to take this throw blanket, that little orange mandarin throw blanket, and toss it in there with this cute setup. And we were able to cater specifically to those families that have this need. That's one way to stand out. You find one way that's it's put all together so that the guests can know, oh, if I bring my kid, they're gonna be all right. So moving on from being unique, you also need to find the things that make you different in your language, right? So for me, I'm a linguist. I absolutely love learning languages. I started learning Mandarin Chinese years ago, and it's one of the reasons I knew Chris. And when you're really clear on who you can serve, sometimes you may be able to branch out and serve people that you have a second language or third language connection with, right? You start getting into that speech family, and it broadens your horizons of who would come and stay with you. So for me, this is a very helpful thing. I let people know that I speak Spanish, and I let people know that I speak Mandarin. And it's really helpful when you have questions. You don't have to go to a dictionary. You don't have to go and ask somebody through Google Translate or whatever. You can just communicate with them. If you have a second language, this is such a great way to stand out. A lot of hosts, even if they have a second language, forget to tick on their profile that they do. Make sure you do that. This is just one of the little tiny things that can put your future potential guest at ease and make sure that they know that you can deliver on what you say, right? Another simple thing you could do, right? When you have your shampoo or your conditioners, if you're gonna put a label on there, why not put it in their language, right? If you know Spanish, put it in Spanish and in English, right? Make sure that you are making your guests feel welcome. All right, another cool thing that you can do to stand out. Insider info. This is something else you do not want to forget. Every single area, there's going to be some things that you know that others may not. Make sure that if you know on one side of the street There's a lot of hoodlums, and it's not a great area, but 90% of the time they're going to be traveling to Disneyland that way. You may be able to pick up a place that's way less expensive, just barely off the nice area, and find a massive discount. Because most of the time your future potential guest is not going to have that insider info to know that, hey, this is not the best area. And it's not that it's unsafe. I would never say go somewhere that's unsafe. But you may be able to get away with having a space that is actually extremely valuable and can produce at a higher level in an area that typically wouldn't produce as well as a long-term rental. Now, another thing with insider info to help you stick out, there may be locations that they're absolutely amazing eateries, could be cool things to go do and visit, or excursions that you know about that not a lot of other hosts know about. If that's the case, make sure that you are able to clearly tell that to your guests. Let them know that, hey, this information, I don't share it with everybody, but I'll get you in on the secret. I know a guy, right? You give them the opportunity to feel like a local. That gives me my next point. When you are a local, this is so helpful because there are certain things that you're going to know that someone that barely moved into the area isn't. If you're not the local, find someone that is and find the ways that you can actually step up and provide the value that a local does. A lot of times, it's the way that you're guiding your guest to those different experiences that allow them to feel welcome and thought of. If you're really thinking about long-term, how can I make sure that these people feel loved, protected, cared for, when you have that local advice, totally changes the way that you approach everything. You have a way to give the edge that a lot of other hosts don't, because you know which streets to go down. You know which things were going to be the most valuable for your guests. You know the eateries that close at 2 o'clock, that if they don't get there early, they're going to miss out. And people have a fear of missing out. And especially for millennials, you want to make sure that you give them that local experience, something they can't experience anywhere else. And when you're true and genuine to who you are and where that space is, you don't have to compete with Bora Bora or Maui or any of these other spaces. People want to feel like a local. They want to get in there. They want to find those dives that have amazing food. They don't have to expend the crazy amounts of money to be able to experience what it's like to live like a local. So if you have that experience and you are from here, man, let it pop out in your listing and you're going to have a great experience.